teenagers. They're ninjas. They're green.
We're dealing with a real mind here.
Now they're taking Burger King by storm. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle videos. Collect 4 adventures you won't find anywhere else. $3.49 each with any purchase. Prices may vary. For a limited time, only at Burger King.
We now present Turtlecast, a 6-part podcast delving into the history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hi, I'm Brandon.
Hey, it's Jimmy.
And this is Billy.
And this is Mike.
And welcome to another episode of Turtlecast. This is episode 2 of a 6-part exploration into the life and times of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Should we restart
that? Go with it. I like it.
I'm winging that part. I have a lot of stuff scripted, but that part I'm just like, I don't really know what to say. It's only episode 2. We're still figuring things out.
Life and times.
Leonardo, the life and times of Leo. But yeah, every episode we're going to look at a different facet of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. Last time we talked about the origins of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well as the comic book. So if you haven't checked out episode 1 yet, please go check it out now. Or listen to this one and check it out later because you can listen to these pretty much out of order if you want to. So last time we talked a little bit about kind of the weird things that showed up in the comic books, and I wanted to ask you guys a few questions before we got going today. Last time we talked about a character known as Cuddly the Cowlick.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember
who, for those who don't remember, it's a trans-dimensional cosmic cow that can transport people across the universe, but he's just a big frickin' cowhead, and like there's no body or anything. I actually showed the guys a picture of him after we recorded. What did you guys think of Cuddly the Cowlick?
Wasn't a very big fan of Cuddly. Mainly because it seemed it was too out there.
Yeah, turtles are weird, y'all.
We're not even talking about Hitler's brain yet.
Yeah. We're gonna be as Hitler-free as possible today in the podcast, as most podcasts should be, unless it's like, a historical podcast.
I don't remember Hitler's brain being in the cartoon, though.
It was not, and there's a reason, because it's Hitler's brain. We don't do that. We just don't do that.
No, but this is 2 straight episodes now where we mentioned Hitler.
And we only have 4 left, so
we got 4 left. I'm shooting for a perfect game, I'm going to be honest with you, for the next few episodes.
So this one we got together within the first minute.
Yeah. 1/3.
That's going to be a record for a Turtle podcast.
So we're doing 6 episodes of this show. This is episode 2. We are 1/3 into the podcast, and we've mentioned Hitler and all 1/3 of it. So I'm going to go ahead and bypass that for now.
Well, one more comment on Hitler's
brain. Give me one more comment about Hitler's brain. For all those that want to listen about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we're going to talk about Hitler just a little bit longer. Go ahead, Billy.
He has an anecdote he'd like to drop.
The only reason that Hitler's brain was not in the cartoons is because Hitler's brain is not kid-friendly.
I don't think it's adult-friendly either, to be honest. But before we recorded the last podcast, we also had another conversation, and we were asking, since, there's 4 of us here, all different ages, all different types of people, we were asking, which Ninja Turtle were we? And one of you, I don't remember which one it was, I don't know if it was Mike or if it was Jimmy or Billy, but one of y'all came up with what I thought was kind of the perfect explanation of which turtle we are. Do you remember who said that? Was it?
Oh, it was me. I believe I was the one who kind of casted the 4 of us.
So I'd like for you to say which turtle you think each one of us is.
This is which one we are, not our favorite, right?
Yeah. Which turtle are we?
You want me to explain as I go? Or
yes.
All right.
Just briefly.
So real quick rundown, Brandon would definitely be the Leo, as he's clearly the one kind of running the show. He's our sort of de facto leader, at least amongst the podcast. Jimmy would be the Donnie, as he's the one handling all of our tech stuff. Billy's got to be Mikey, because he's loads of fun and just bonkers. I don't know how else to describe Billy.
He's a party dude.
Hey! There he goes, right there.
He's random.
We've been watching a lot of cartoons lately. We'll talk about it too.
Right.
Billy can be very random sometimes.
I'm extremely random sometimes.
I saw him eating pizza just minutes ago. He's clearly Michelangelo.
Clearly.
Oh, yes, I was. I couldn't help it.
And then that leaves me as Raph, and I am kind of the big one with anger issues, so that's a little bit fair.
I'm a party dude. What can I say?
We're all on point. So, once again, thank you all for joining us for the second episode of Turtlecast, where 4 middle-aged Mutant Ninja Turtle fans come together to take a look at what makes TMNT a powerhouse franchise all these years later. It's been almost 40 years and it's still going strong. This past week, the new movie actually came out in theaters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Myself, Michael here, and Jimmy. I don't know why I called you Michael. I never call you Michael.
Name treatment. I feel like I'm in trouble or something.
We actually got to see an early showing, which is the most podcast thing I've ever said before. But Billy had a headache that day, apparently.
Yeah, I get them from time to time. They
Yeah.
just hit me out of nowhere, and I can't help it.
But we got to see like an advanced screening of it. And in episode 3, we're actually going to talk about all the movies. And we're going to talk about Mutant Mayhem. But today, we are going to talk the cartoons. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have a good feeling that most of us got into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles through the cartoons.
Correct.
100%.
Yeah.
And
It's definitely what started it.
Oh, yes.
And I just want to go ahead and state before we get going, we're going to cover all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoons that were on television. We're not going to talk about like animated movies. That's going to come in the next episode.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the 2007 movie. We will talk about the recent Mutant Mayhem movie then. But this is more the television episode. So before we tackle anything, we've got to go to the original. We're going to go back in time to 1986. But first, I need to ask you guys a question. And we're going to start with Jimmy, and we're going to work our way down to the youngest. What do you remember about 1986?
The year? Or
Yeah, just the year in
Turtles?
general. No, not Turtles. What do you remember about 1986?
I think of 84 and 85, those were the big years because we have Gremlins, we have Back to the Future, we have everything happening in pop culture. 86?
How old were you in 86?
Oh, your math?
7? I think you're 7.
I was born in
They would
79.
have been 7.
It's hard for me to place. I think I was waiting for the premiere.
You were waiting for the Turtles.
I was waiting for the Turtles.
Billy, what do you remember about 1986?
I was 5 years old. 86, good chance I was probably playing NES.
Oh, yeah, Mario was a big thing, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was 5 years old, 86. That's right around the time of release of NES.
For me, I was born in late.
Banana Man was out.
That is true.
I like Banana Man.
Random. Okay, I'll keep that in so I can cut to Banana Man.
There we go.
I was born in late 85, so I don't remember 86. When I think of 86, of course I don't remember at the time, but as a big comic fan, 1986 was the biggest year for comics ever, probably, because you had Watchmen, you had Dark Knight Dark Knight Returns. You had Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was killing off Barry Allen, and Supergirl, which was huge in comics. You had a lot of big comics in '86, but yeah, I don't remember anything. But I'm willing to guess I remember more than Mike. Mike, what do you remember about '86?
Well, see, 86 is a really difficult year for me to remember because I wasn't born until 87.
I thought you were born in '86.
No, I was born in 87, so I mean, I'm not even thought of at that point.
You're as Otis the Turtle cartoons.
No, you were thought of because it takes 9 months for you to come out.
He was just swimming.
Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go.
Just swimming.
You're a little swimmer in Elroy sack.
You were, you were a little Bruce
Bring that
Willis.
joke back up.
Now, in 1986, there's a big question that I think all of us have kind of wondered. How did a comic for adults that featured cussing, it featured drinking, I think there's like some minor sexual assault and decapitations, how did they land a cartoon? And I think that's where we're going to start today, talking about how Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became a cartoon to begin with back in the mid-'80s. Jimmy?
Well, he asked what I was doing in 86, and in some ways I was waiting till 87, because in 87, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, the most perfect minute and 2 seconds happened to me. A big part of that...
But no one received royalties. They never made a single dime from that, which just blows my mind. So it could give you like goosebumps, but it didn't give them a single penny.
Damn.
Which is wild. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I think one thing we do need to talk about, because of course we're just talking about cartoons, the cartoons today, but in the 1980s, those were the days of action figures and cartoons. So an idea would come of, hey, we got an idea for an action figure. Let's do a cartoon series. So I think it's important to note that while we're talking about the cartoon, in the background, the action figures are also happening.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
That's a very important... The whole reason the cartoon happened was because of the action figures.
They're all tied in very tightly. And that leads us to a guy named Mark Friedman, who was a merchandise guy.
Yeah, he worked for Hanna-Barbera for a little bit.
That's true. He went to Eastman and Laird and said, let me see what I can do with this thing.
Yeah, he actually didn't like the name of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at first. But he said it grew on him, and he decided to pitch the Turtles to different toy lines that mostly turned him down.
Yeah.
Like, almost everyone turned him down, except for a company I think you're about to bring up.
So Mark Friedman, merchandise guy, made a deal with Playmates Toys. Murakami Wolf Swenson Studios jumped on board to do the animation, and a lot of the funding came specifically from Playmates Toys.
They almost went with Marvel Productions to make the cartoon, too. And Murakami Wolf Swenson ended up with it kind of last minute.
I think it's important to also note that on the sidelines while this is going on, Eastman and Laird are just standing there going, I don't know, as everything's happening.
Everything was kind of like grew legs before they could really do anything about it.
It was kind of all getting out from under them, I think. We also need to talk about David Wise, who was a writer, worked on He-Man, Transformers, and what else, Brandon?
Batman the Animated Series?
Yes.
I know Michael Reeves is a big Turtle Batman kind of crossover guy, but I thought David Wise might be.
Wise wrote The Clock King.
He wrote the Clock King episode? We love that episode,
The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne, we watched that too, right?
Yes, we
and
did.
the Riddler, I think Riddler does, that's the If You're So Smart, Then Why
Aren't You Rich? Yeah.
Wise was actually recommended by Chuck Lorre because they wanted Chuck Lorre to be the showrunner, writer guy. And he was like, no, how about this guy, David Wise? And they went to Wise and they're like, we got this show about turtles. And he's like, the Ninja Turtles? And they're like, yeah, do you know? And he's like, I have all the comics.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know that.
This was the guy. This was definitely the guy to bring in and to really, I think he was one of the main writers on the first 5.
So the first 5, it was him and Patty Hoeth who wrote the screenplay for all 5 episodes.
A lot of things that Wise came up with really set the tone for the series and stayed with the property through even Mutant Mayhem. There's stuff that Wise came up with 100 years ago that is still being seen in Turtle things. The personalities of the 4 Turtles, modeling April after Lois Lane, that was his idea. The Foot Clan of Robots, that was him. So they could
do like violence in a kids cartoon without like getting all the censors mad because they're not hurting people; they're hurting robots. That's cool. Yeah, we don't care about robot rights here.
The Turtles' obsession with pizza, that was
robot
a
rights
thing.
didn't exist yet.
Yeah, there's quite a few things that are different from the comic to the cartoon. The color bandanas were, of course, the big change.
Oh yeah,
and the belt buckles because they wanted people to be able to distinguish which character was which.
Right, instead of just going by color, they put the belt buckles on.
They did that too. Yeah,
that way they have the.
And in that first episode, they keep reiterating whose name is which because April O'Neil can't figure out whose name. Like she gets all 4 of their names wrong, and I believe that is to help kind of put in people's mind. This is Michelangelo. This is Leonardo. This is Raphael. This is Donatello.
Although sometimes the animators didn't know because sometimes Leonardo has Raphael's voice.
That had a lot to do with they used a bunch of different companies for the animation, and there was a lot of lost in translation things there, especially when they got to like season 3, which we'll get to that stuff here in a minute. But they were supposed to churn out 40 plus episodes a season, so everyone's just kind of working really quick. But also in the cartoons, Splinter and Hamato Yoshi are the same person. Bebop and Rocksteady were original characters, and so was Krang. The Utroms were actually in the books, but there was no Krang. By the way, Krang's body, Eastman and Laird absolutely hated that design.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, they did.
And they had ordered for it to change, and apparently it was too late in production that they couldn't change it. So
they're not the only ones. I never liked it.
It's funny looking back and looking at the design of Krang, and that. It's kind of like a marshmallow body.
Nostalgia does a lot for that design, in my opinion. Because
it's really, it's very true.
It's really not. If we just look at it objectively, it's not a very pleasing design. It is very 80s, right down to the glasses that thing's wearing.
Yeah. Baxter Stockman is a white guy. The Fly was new. Shredder is very much a weenie compared to the comics.
Oh yeah, big time.
That's something. Irma was created for the show to give April a gal pal. There's no Casey Jones April romance. Casey Jones is barely even in the show.
He's in it, but
he's in like 3 episodes or something like that.
And the third one
he's
barely
weird.
in.
And he's never maskless or anything like that.
No.
I didn't realize he was only in 3 episodes.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is weird. There was like 10 years of shows, and he's in 3 episodes.
Because he's synonymous with the Ninja Turtles, so it's crazy to think that he wasn't a bigger part of the show.
Right.
Vernon was in more episodes than Casey Jones.
Yeah.
And the logo that we all kind of love came from the cartoon. That did not come from the comic book. And the Cowabunga catchphrase that came from the from.
Well, it's important to note that I guess at some point David Wise, I guess in the 60s or whatever, saw Snoopy surfing, saying cowabunga.
Yep.
So, and cowabunga actually comes from the Howdy Doody show.
It does, yes.
Because Chief Thunderthud, that was his war cry.
Yes.
Because my dad's a Howdy Doody person, so I know about Howdy Doody.
I know about Howdy Doody as well.
I just love a good multi-layered reference like that.
Right.
Wasn't Chief Thunderlips or whatever? I'm getting with that.
Chief Thunderthud.
Thunderthud. What is like cowabunga?
He'd go, cowabunga!
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Real quick, Thunderlips as in Rocky 3 Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a multi-layered reference.
There's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on.
What are some of the changes there that we like and dislike?
You know what? Actually, give me a couple seconds to think about that. Y'all go around the table.
I like April O'Neil being a reporter a lot.
100%.
And that's something that I kind of have issues with the other cartoons, that they get away from that,
Mm-hmm.
actually, in the other cartoons.
It's very 80s because a lot of cartoons had a reporter
Yeah,
character.
you had to keep somebody kind of like informed and whatnot. I like Bebop and Rocksteady a lot, too.
Some of them had reporter characters, not a lot of them.
The Filmation Ghostbusters had a reporter character.
Filmation Ghostbusters was phenomenal.
Stop! Okay, I thought you were going to say something bad. Okay,
No,
I'm glad you love Filmation
I love
Ghostbusters.
Filmation
So did I.
Ghostbusters.
They're the real one.
That's right.
Do you guys like the pizza thing that they added? That's become such a big part of their identity. Even in the original movie, they did a lot with that.
They did.
In the original movie, it's very, like, I feel like comic based for the most part.
I like the pizza stuff just because it's almost like a constant. We can always use this for humor. We can always put this in a spot. The story's been a little too serious. Let's insert some levity real quick with it.
Yeah, I don't understand all their toppings in the cartoon.
No, that gets so absurd.
Yeah, like especially in like the OG cartoons, they sort of never, I guess, graduate to like regular person toppings.
Yeah.
Because in other cartoons, there are other iterations where
they make fun of that in Turtles Forever, which we'll talk about Turtles Forever a little bit later.
It's always like bubblegum and sardine. And kind of weird crap.
Well, it was like they had ice cream pizza.
That don't sound bad though. I would try.
I'm sure you could make it like an ice cream cake or whatever, but they were like, we want a hot pizza with ice cream on it.
Like, but Splinter always eats sushi.
He does.
He doesn't eat the pizza. He's like, I like sushi.
Well, and the Punk Frogs also were not big fans of pizza. If
No.
I remember correctly.
No.
I will say I hate, and I've already said this before, I hate Baxter Stockman in the cartoon.
The change, right? Yeah.
The change is a little too much, and I hate that Shredder's kind of. After the first season, Shredder is a full-on wuss.
He is. Yeah.
He kind of bows before Krang. He whines all the time. And I love James Avery.
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, I want to talk about the cast really quick. Name drop who's in the cast. Yeah. Cam Clark voices Leonardo. Barry Gordon voices Donatello. Townsend Coleman voices Michelangelo. Rob Paulson, of course, is Raphael.
Rob Paulson, the legend.
Which we're gonna hear his name a lot more as the show goes on, because this is not his only rodeo. Renee Jacobs is April O'Neil. Peter Renaday is Splinter. Pat Fraley is Krang, and James Avery, of course, Shredder.
Rest in peace, James Avery.
And by the way, the pilot aired on December 14th, 1987.
Yes.
Did you guys watch it while it was on? We're too young.
Yeah, obviously.
Man, I want to say I did.
Because it began full.
I did.
I want to say I did.
Like I said, it's December of '87.
I want to say
yes. I watched the first 5 that full week. Most definitely, yeah.
Oh yes, I did.
What made you watch it? Yeah.
The ads. They advertised it constantly on Fox.
There's only 5 episodes.
It was an event.
That's the whole first season is 5 episodes.
Yep.
They made it into an event that a kid had to watch.
Yes.
The show had a great revolving. Of course, the actual cast was great, but we had a lot of revolving door of talent. Jim Cummings, Peter Cullen, Tress MacNeille. I think Dan Castellaneta, who was also Homer Simpson, did a voice.
Oh, nice.
Late in the run.
He did.
Sue Blue was the dialogue director for the show. She also did voice work as well. Most notably, she was RC in Transformers. So she helped put a lot of these people together. And I think a lot of them, they would record together.
They always did that. That's why you would have people come in to kind of take, like, say James Avery couldn't make the recording. They would have somebody replace him for that day because they wanted everyone to work together and work off
And
each
when
other.
we say record together, we're not talking about like around a table. We're talking about standing up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said other voices. Frequently in the third and fourth seasons, there are episodes where Barry Gordon and Rob Paulson were missing, and it always bothers me when I watch those episodes.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Because I think Barry Gordon also did Rocksteady, so when one
He
is
did,
wrong,
yeah.
the other is wrong.
Yep.
And there are some great episodes. I think some of the Leatherhead episodes, James Avery's not there for, and Jim Cummings does the voice.
Yep.
And those are my favorite episodes, but
Right.
there's no James Avery, and it drives me
It's
nuts
not.
when it's a different person doing the voices.
Yeah, I always say when there were any kind of cartoon in the '80s, or always change the voice, because even as a kid, you can still recognize that.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
oh, that's a totally different voice.
I do want to talk about it. It's so weird to me. You mentioned, what was the day the show premiered?
So the pilot premiered December 14th of 87. They went full time with season 2 on October 1st of 88, and also they ended November 2nd of 1996.
Yep.
I couldn't find any information. That's a weird time. You got a toy line, you got a show you're trying to get kids into, and you're like, well, we want to get the toys out for Christmas. But no, the show premieres after Christmas. That's not the way things would
Well,
work
it
now.
premiered like 2 weeks before Christmas.
But that's not enough time. Like, you think
No.
nowadays it's like,
I'm thinking maybe
here's the show, here's the toys.
were the figures out
Christmas
then?
is no, they
I always guess in 88 was when
they
those
came out
blew up.
next year, which
They
is
did.
that's such a
Yeah.
weird.
It is
I guess
weird
it's just
move.
kind of like
They're
maybe
pushing,
let's try it out, see if
But
there's interest
What
there.
else did
Maybe
Playmates have coming out that year? Maybe
Playmates didn't have much at all. They were
No.
a very little known
Okay.
company.
They were.
there
I
was
think they did baby dolls. Or
I
something
did
like
read that they said that, week 2 weeks before Christmas, whatever, every kid is home. So they were able to watch the Turtles because there's no school.
Right.
And that really sold it. And like, okay, that makes sense. But
Wait.
still, it's a weird
Was it on like daily or was it on weekly?
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
So you have a whole week for that whole season there. And you have a whole week for kids to be like, I want the turtle toys.
Yep.
But then they didn't release till the
But
spring.
maybe it created
Following.
anticipation.
I'm wondering if there was
Had
like
to have.
if there was like some kind of hitch in the giddy up of like we could the show probably should have premiered in like September.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the
And then
figures
push.
would have been available in October, but
Right.
it didn't work out that it didn't matter anyway because that first 5 were huge.
Maybe
They
they
were.
were waiting to see how well the show would do
that
before
had
they
something-
released.
That's what I think. I think
Probably
they're just
had
testing
something
the
to do with
waters,
it, too. That's probably what it was.
Well,
Because it is such a weird concept if you don't know anything about it. It's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, but that's the kind of shit
Like, it
kids
works for us,
Love.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
imagine a world where that hadn't been created yet.
Oh,
And
yeah,
just
that's
like,
fair
that
point.
sounds
Yeah.
weird, man.
Right.
And also,
I
like,
mean-
it sounds violent too. And if you're going to have a cartoon on Saturday mornings, you have to make some compromises there, if you know what I mean.
Oh, they had
True.
some cartoons on Saturday mornings, that's for certain.
And they got in trouble for violence sometimes. I know in season 4 they phased out Mikey's nunchucks because they were illegal in most countries.
They
Like,
were.
I just thought it was funny
They're
that they.
all deadly weapons. Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that they didn't ban the sword or the size,
Right.
which are, in my opinion, the most deadly. But they took away the nunchucks because
I think it's because nunchucks are a lot more. They're a lot easier for kids to get their hands on.
That's
that's
exactly
possible.
what
Yeah,
because
that's possible. Yeah,
Yes.
I was a Michelangelo guy, so I would make nunchucks out of everything.
There you go.
Oh, you're the problem,
I'm the
Jimmy.
reason.
You're the problem, Jimmy.
And I hit some guy was messing with one of my friends, and I hit him with my homemade nunchucks.
How did
and
that go?
He ran the home.
Oh, okay.
So, like-
That was not the ending of. I thought you were about like, and then I was pummeled.
No. I understand why, because like Mikey was my guy, and I'm like nunchucks are so a fellow chucker, eh? So I get it. I get
A
it.
fellow chucker.
That's what he said.
It is what he said.
That's what he
It
said.
says that. It
But-
does
but
say
I
then
that.
love that.
But then they
It says
replaced
that.
it with the grappling hook, and I'm like, the grappling hook, man. I'm just
See,
those latter episodes not
yeah.
feeling the grappling, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, they had a grappling hook in the games, but
But it was like on everybody.
But that
It
makes
wasn't
makes
Mikey.
sense. Yeah.
Mikey doesn't.
I mean,
do
Batman is a
Kasuragami.
grappling hook, you know.
But I think Kasuragami Mikey's a bit later thing. I don't think that was ever
well,
part of
grappling
the
hook,
original.
grappling hook actually fits Batman because he's got all the gadgets and all that. And
Well, it gets you from point A to B if you
right,
can't
right.
fly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you can't fly, what better way to get from one point to the other?
You guys do know that Eastman Laird absolutely hated this cartoon, right?
Mhm.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I remember
They
this.
absolutely just hated how much was changed from the books.
Yep.
They didn't like that that a lot of characters were created just to like sell toys, and they didn't like how the network would kind of like meddle into everything.
Which I can kind of understand, like if you look at it from their perspective, especially
Well,
like
especially
knowing-
Laird too, because Laird was very like protective of his
right? And both of them, you can even see like in the origins of how the comic came about. Very punk rock spirit from both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you have that punk rock spirit, and then the big corporate figureheads come in and they start mucking around with your stuff and changing this, and it's their baby too. It was the first success those guys really had. I mean, I know they had a little bit of the what Laird was in the little penny comics.
Yeah, like they were in the underground scene too, which is also very punk rock too.
Right, especially given the time frame, 80s.
Yeah.
You know?
Mid-80s.
So I understand why they'd be upset, but at the same time, they're probably not as upset in 2023 as they were maybe like a 1993.
Well, definitely not Laird. Laird cashed in.
Right. Well, and Eastman's
doing pretty well.
He seems to be a lot more involved in.
Well, he's involved in all the
nowadays.
IDW comics,
and
they used all these characters that were not created in the original comics. And
right.
I think that's awesome.
He was.
He embraced it.
He was very much, at least on social media, he was really big on Mutant Mayhem. And apparently they even reached out to him. He had a bit to do with helping out with Mutant Mayhem, which is good to hear.
Nice. Yeah, I know Eastman's really embraced it.
I have sort of a synopsis of the seasons.
Okay, I would like to hear that. Yeah, we'll get there.
That.
We'll get that. Yeah,
so
that sounds good.
Season 1 was, of course, those first 5 episodes. Turtle Tracks, Enter the Shredder, A Thing About Rats, Hot Riding Teenagers from Dimension X, Shredder and Splintered. Of course, that premieres December 14th, 87.
Don't you have a crush on one of the neutrinos?
Through the 19th. I love Calla because she's Michelangelo's gal.
I felt like we had to bring that up.
And Mikey was my boy. Eventually, those all released together on VHS, and they just called it The Epic Begins.
Okay. Okay.
So, of course, that season airs. The toys don't release until the summer of 88, with the first wave and some of the vehicles.
Did you get them when they came out?
Yes.
I know we'll talk more about toys 2 episodes from now, but I was just curious.
Yes, totally. Season 2 was October 1st, 88 through December. 89, the following year, the second wave of figures are released. Season 3 airs September through December of 89. Season 4 was split between CBS and syndication.
Yeah, I knew they went to CBS after season 3.
That was that huge run. How many is it, 40 or 50?
I think there's like 52 episodes or something like that. It's a stupid amount.
They run from September 90 to 91. This is really like the time.
Well, I know
because the movie came out during this.
Like season 3, they were forced to do like 42 episodes because they wanted to hit a certain episode number, like 56 or something like that. They only had, I think, 18 from the first 2 seasons combined or something.
Kid shows are weird about episode count anyway.
Especially back then, because syndication's a huge deal back then.
At this point, Turtles is on 5 days a week, an hour on Saturday, no Sunday, so 6 days a week. Seasons 5 to 10 are all on CBS from September to December of that year. The second season consists of 13 episodes, and Brandon has talked about this. It definitely has a second album syndrome kind of feel.
At the end of this, we're going to talk about our thoughts on each one or whatever, and that's season 2 I'm not a fan of.
David Wise only worked on the first episode. I think that's...
he did the first 5.
It's the Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang episode. That's all.
That's season 2, yeah.
And that's a good episode, so he probably had something to do with that. The first half of that season has a mini arc where the Turtles and Shredder battle to try...
Boring.
And yeah,
it's boring.
Gather pieces of a space doohickey.
Yeah.
And of course, the rest of the season sets up the action figures. Well, in that bit, we do have Enter the Fly. We introduce the Punk Frogs, the Case of the Killer Pizzas, Splinter No More. We set up Baxter as, I always think Baxter is kind of like the Sideshow Bob of the 87 show, because he comes back, usually one episode a season.
Revenge of the Fly, The Fly's Family, or something like that.
Yes, I like the titles. The episodes eventually get kind of weird. Season 3, of course, has the 47 episodes. We continue to introduce characters and vehicles like Leatherhead, Rat King, Usagi Yojimbo. The news crew really comes into the forefront. I think David Wise really liked writing for Irma.
They did. Did you like any of the characters a lot?
I really did, and maybe I wasn't supposed to as a kid.
No, people don't like Irma. I've seen online.
I love Irma.
I find her kind of annoying
until she meets Howie.
Yeah.
But hate Howie so much.
So we reference Howie. Oh my God, he's in like 2 or 3 episodes.
I don't even know who Howie is. Right?
He sings all his
all those songs about the Turtles.
Going back and rewatching the 87 one, there was a lot of like, oh, this happened.
Nostalgia goes.
It did not age great for me, which we'll talk about.
And that's where a lot of the names that episodes come into, because they're like puns almost of like other movies.
Right.
That are like famous out like in the 80s and stuff.
That's actually something that 2012 does.
And I'd say 2012 does that.
Yeah, it's like there's always like a nod.
The Cockroach Terminator.
There's a nod to like the 50s, sort of like the 50s roots of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Return of the Fly. There's a lot of that, and 2012 does that too. But 4 episodes from that season are the ones that are on the Burger King tapes. That's Invasion of the Turtle Snatchers, The Great Boldini, April Foolish, and Sky Turtles. They're not really the greatest of the episodes.
They're kind of random episodes.
So it's weird
there.
that they selected those. This season, we talked about some changes that happened as far as Michelangelo losing his nunchucks. And this was Saturday morning, so they're really starting to pander more to children. There's an episode called Michelangelo Toys Around, where basically, if you've ever seen The Toy...
I think I've seen that video.
If you've seen The Toy with Richard Pryor, basically take out Richard Pryor and put him...
Whoa! I want to watch that one now.
Michelangelo ends up in the back of like a toy truck and ends up going home with a child and becomes like his best friend. It's really bad.
That's Stranger Danger there, man.
Really not a good episode. At this point, there are so many episodes of this cartoon, they are selling the cells at Toys R Us. Billy, did you had an April O'Neil cell once, right?
I at one time, yes.
Do you remember where you got it? Was it a gift?
I got it from Fincher.
Oh, Fincher gave it to you.
Fincher gave it to me.
You can just go to Toys R Us and buy an animation cell for like $7. In the summer of 1991, I think this is right after Ooze comes out.
Yeah, Ooze was 91.
There was a prime time double episode on Fox, I think it was on Fox, called The Planet of the Turtleoids, which they took 2 episodes and it was like an hour. So basically 2 episodes put together. I was upset because it had no continuity with Ooze. I don't know why I thought it would, but I did. They introduced Ground Chuck, Dirtbag, and Chrome Dome.
Chrome Dome. I forgot about Chrome Dome.
That was Fox,
But Season 7 does have an appearance from Toka and Razor.
I've always heard about that. I've never actually seen that.
Yeah, they're totally different, and it's not very good.
No.
I've seen like the animation.
They're very intelligent now, and there's no reference
they
to
should have
anything
been
that
from the
happened to the
get-go.
movie at all.
Agreed.
It's weird. There's also a multi-episode arc where the Turtles win a European vacation.
That was like a big part of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was.
They call them the Lost episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know what story is on that, but they didn't air.
I don't think they didn't air. Then they put them out, I think, on VHS or something like
that's
that.
what it was. Also, Shredder ends up with the Sword of Excalibur. This happens.
It does.
What?
It does.
This happens.
It does.
Like it's sort of the stone type.
Yes, something like that happens, as I recall. 1994 is the 8th season. We talked about this, where they change up.
Too soon.
They change up the art style.
So is this season 8?
This is season 8 through 10.
So you know why they got retooled, right? They were crushed in the ratings by X-Men, which had really gotten going. Yeah, I watched. That's how I got into X-Men.
I loved X-Men.
that cartoon.
That cartoon was amazing.
And it was really good. And it holds up pretty well today, too.
Very much.
In my opinion, it's the second best comic-related cartoon of all time, still to this day, behind Batman the Animated Series, of course. But
did that have something to do with it too? You think just how big that was?
So they said that had to do with it partially as well, but it was the X-Men crushing them in ratings. It was kind of what got them butthurt about it. But yes, Batman the Animated Series also played kind of a role as well, and I think that's why they went with the Red Skies too, if I remember correctly.
Yep. The Red Skies.
I know the first season they still had Shredder, but they got rid of Shredder by season 9 for a new villain, Lord Dreg.
Yeah. He comes back occasionally
He
in the last
does,
season, but hardly ever.
Much.
They had like I want to say a Ninja Turtle in training, but they had some other new character. It was a character Carter. He was like a character of color who was learning the ways of the ninja or something. And all of a sudden, by the way, Ninja Turtles all of a sudden had continuity the last 3 seasons.
And you can't see me right now, but I'm rolling my eyes when you say Carter.
but most importantly, they changed the song.
Oh,
Jimmy,
sucks.
you need to play it. You need to play it right. You need to play it right here, Jimmy.
Here's the song.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtle power!
And we're back.
Oh God! Why did you play that?
Chuck Lorre's rolling in his grave. I don't think he's dead, but he's
He's
rolling
not.
in his grave.
He dug a grave just so he could throw himself into it. And roll around.
Awful.
Anyway, the show ended after 9 years in 1996 and 193 episodes.
Woo! It's a good run. It's a good run.
It's
Yes,
very
it
impressive.
was.
Very impressive that it stayed
it
relevant
was.
that long.
So right now I'm going to go around the podcast table and I want to hear every single person's thoughts on the OG cartoon as a whole.
As a
Like,
whole.
what did you think of the 1987 cartoon? What did you like? What did you dislike? I'm going to start with Jimmy.
It's hard to do that without comparing it to another cartoon that comes later. One that has continuity and drama and a story that goes through and isn't just, here's a villain of the week, here's some filler. And that's 2012. Like 2012 came around. I know I'm not supposed to say this yet.
We're getting.
I'm not supposed to say this yet, but that looking back at '87, I'm like, this.
I would even say 03, which we're going to talk
that
about
has
next.
some of it too.
That has a lot of continuity.
But
That's next.
it just didn't. It doesn't have any of that looking back. But this brought me into the fold. And
It's got us do the dance.
There is so much of this that I can quote these episodes. I love these characters. Again, I'll talk about the opening, but the hairs on my arm will raise. It's not perfect, and it's a product of the time.
Very much
but
so.
It is a part of my DNA, and it's on my arm because there's Leonardo. So, yeah, I love it, even though it's what it is. You know,
Billy, what do you think about the OG Turtle cartoon?
I enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, a lot of the episodes, like the early episodes, I enjoyed more than the later episodes. Like when it got to Red Sky, I was already. I was either too old.
I think a lot of people were checked out by that point.
Yeah, I was either too old or I was like, I have already had too much turtle.
Yeah.
Right.
They really did peak with the first 5.
They did.
And I know that.
The first 5 seasons.
And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say the first season alone is, I think, still amazing. But for the most part, I thought season 2, especially comparing it to, I just watched season 1.
Right.
And I love season 1.
Yeah,
I think season 1 is great.
I mean,
it's
a great
like it is a great, in my opinion. It's not an adaptation of the original comic, but it has that feel still. Mike, what did you think of the OG 1987 cartoon?
I mean, obviously, as a kid growing up, I loved it as a kid. Going back and watching it nowadays, trying to look at it through objective eyes.
That's what I've tried. It's hard.
Not super great, although I will, real quick, pit stop into season 2 here. Season 2 is where Random Thug calls Shredder Titface, and I think that needs to be talked about more.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not censoring that because neither did CBS.
No. They did not.
So,
why did they call him Titface?
It was the fake Turtles episode.
The Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang.
Yeah, so he's the leader of that before they turn him into the Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang. And Shredder goes into this place, talks a gang of shit to Old Boy, and Old Boy calls him Titface in return. Which is, of all the things
I want to start using that.
Let me point out that voice was Optimus Prime, I think.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I think it was Peter Cullen who did that voice, so that was
that makes it even better.
That does make it better.
The Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang. Yeah.
But,
roll out.
Yeah, going back, watching it now with 36-year-old eyes, nostalgia does a whole lot for it as far as enjoyment. But, I mean, like Billy said, 6 out of 10 is fair. It's not that it's a terrible show. It is just very much made for its audience. It is hokey and cheesy, and it's for kids. And there is good storytelling in there. Like, it has the DNA of a good show, you could say. But they also had to be weary of their audience, and you can't. Why bother putting all that work into putting all that story for an audience that's mostly comprised of 5 to 7-year-olds?
And before we move on, I do want to mention something to Jimmy, because this is kind of a tie-in to our other podcast, Almost Got Him. Michael Reeves writes a whole lot of Ninja Turtle episodes.
Sure did.
And Michael Reeves, for those that don't know, he wrote quite a few Batman the Animated Series episodes, including Perchance to Dream, which is one of our favorites, and he passed away a few months ago. So, but yeah, he did a bunch of, I think, episodes from season 2 on. But yeah, very big fan of Michael Reeves. But yeah, overall, yeah, it's a product of its time, and it did get us here. I mean, the cartoon did make us all Turtle fans, so we do got to remember that.
Just watch! It's the Turtles' gigantic and wacky attack aircraft, the Turtle Blimp, featuring pistol grip and wacky bombs with trigger release. Cowabunga! And of course, with the detachable turtle glider, the boys can drop in anytime for pizza or punch! From Playmates.
So, in the early 2000s, Laird and Eastman parted ways. And Laird began to work on new comics, and that led to a partnership with 4Kids to produce a new iteration of the Turtles for Saturday mornings in 2003.
So what is 4Kids exactly? Because I've been reading a lot about them.
Is that a Fox Kids thing?
I don't think so, because I know they were not SAG-AFTRA or whatever. They were not.
Are we sure? Because I know, because I almost feel like it's like how you have like Disney, and then you had like Disney Extreme, and then you had like Nickelodeon Games and Sports. I thought 4Kids was.
But that was the whole thing when we get to Turtles Forever. Like they could use their cast because they weren't union. They weren't SAG.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm pretty sure they're their own thing.
Okay. Fair enough.
And that's also why I think we don't know any of the names.
When I search it, it brings up the Fox box. Oh my god, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. I thought that the 4Kids, because I think that's what like the Turtles Fast Forward was on.
Yes.
I don't even remember the show being on, to be completely
4Kids
honest.
TV ended on December 27, 2008. Fox announced it. So this was a Fox.
No, it was a Fox.
This was some kind of Fox thing.
Because I thought the 2003 show was a Fox Kids show, at least originally.
I think it's all tied in.
Probably
They come up with these clever names, but I think I think it was Fox related. And of course, this version that was made by 4Kids was much closer to the comics, which I think Laird really appreciated. Right?
Yeah, Laird was very involved in this cartoon, and you can tell when you watch it too. It's very much the comics with some kind of light humor inserted from like, kind of inspired from the older movies or the older cartoon.
A lot of the original Mirage comic stories were used as inspiration for this particular version.
Yeah. They end up running for like 7 seasons and 156 episodes.
So apparently, I guess it's been found now, but there's a whole lost season they didn't want to air.
Oh, I don't know about this.
They were considered too harsh.
Yeah.
So this is interesting to me.
Go for it.
So they shelved those episodes and basically rebooted it, which is kind of what
I knew they did a reboot
because
later
I
on.
always thought there was 2 different shows.
Because they went more comedic, didn't they, when they rebooted?
Yeah, they said this is too dark. Let's jump to the future and make the Turtles robots or something.
Yeah.
What?
Basically rebooted. Is that what it was?
Well, they weren't robots. I think they had like kind of.
They
had like suits.
They have like a futurist. Yeah.
They had kind of Iron Man suits.
But eventually, I guess maybe those episodes ran out of steam. I don't know. Eventually, they went back and showed the ones that they couldn't show, and then they rebooted the reboot and went back to the original continuity.
That's confusing.
And ended the series with Turtles Forever, which was the multiverse movie.
Which, I loved it.
I loved it as well.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I like it outside of the fact that like the stuff I don't like about it is the stuff I already don't like about the series.
Right.
Turtles Forever was actually because it was a 25th anniversary of the property, so that's kind of why they did that. They even made a logo, a 25th anniversary logo, and
so
it's all over that.
Yeah, those that don't know, they brought the original like 87 Turtles like cartoon. Yep. Well, the designs and the characters. Yeah. They did not bring the voices because at the time, it's ironic because we're talking about this now, but at the time was the last SAG strike where all the actors were on strike, so they couldn't use all of them. They had to get non-union people. So they kind of cross over with the 87 Turtles, and they also cross over with the comic book Mirage Turtles, which is kind of fun. And also what's awesome is it's a multiverse movie 11 years before everyone else started doing them every 2 months or whatever. So you get to see like flashes of the movie Turtles. You even get to see a flash of the 2012 cartoon that hadn't even come out yet, which I thought was really cool. Little moment there. But yeah, Turtles Forever, you can't find it on streaming because I think there's a lot of issues with the rights, probably because of Fred Wolf or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe that will change now that since we last recorded, Nickelodeon finally acquired the original 87 Turtles. So we're going to see that streaming very soon. For those that want to check it out, it's on YouTube. They actually have a great
it's pretty easy to find too.
It looks great. But yeah, you should check it out on YouTube if you haven't yet. And also with the 03 show, this was the first show to feature the Turtles with all different skin colors. Like every turtle, if you take their masks off, you can tell who they are by their skin color.
You know who did that first? The Playmates toys.
Yes.
They did?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
I did not know that. This cartoon was also the first to feature a bunch of fan favorite characters from the comics. This is the first time we got to see the Fugitoid. It's the first time we saw the Triceratons, Karai, and even Mr. Nobody was in the 03 show. So
I think Triceratons might be in 87 for just one episode.
It was.
But it's a thing.
Well, I think isn't there a Fugitoid figure?
Yes, there was, but there's no. He's never
He never shows up.
No.
Yeah.
I think 87 he
Well,
was.
neither was
in
Ace
one
Duck.
episode. No.
Ace Duck is just on TV in
Yeah.
'87. He's not a character.
I like Ace Duck.
I
Ace-
love Ace Duck,
Ace
but they
Duck's
did
great.
I
nothing.
hate Ace Duck.
They never-
He's just a figure. He's
Is
just a
Ace Duck
figure.
even
Wow.
in 2012? Like, you think 2012
You would think so.
would
I
do
haven't
Right.
finished it
do a
recently,
fan
but
thing,
not yet.
but
Yeah.
they don't do anything
No.
with Ace Duck.
No, they don't. Do
I
shit
love
with
Ace Duck.
I
Yeah,
like
they
Ace
don't even
Duck.
do anything with him in the comics. He showed up in like one panel during the
Right.
Armageddon
You need to get on
game.
him.
That was
They
it.
need to get on him.
Get on Ace Duck.
So I'm going to go around the table again. I'm going to ask you guys, what did you think of the 2003 series as a whole from what you've seen? I'm going to start this time with Mike.
From what I've seen, I actually really like it. I like that it takes the show in a little bit more of a serious direction. I do think it almost does that a little too much sometimes from what I saw. Just because, and this is just personal opinion, kind of like I'd mentioned in the last episodes, I like my Turtles to be fun, despite the fact that I love Last Ronin. But Last Ronin also has a few little moments of levity in the story, so it's not completely gone there. Overall, I like the show, but my biggest gripes about it is, one, I don't think the humor is really on point, and two, oh my god, and no disrespect to these people, because they're humans who are doing jobs, but holy crap, does that voice cast suck.
I don't like the voice
I think
cast.
the voice acting is
I think
garbage
the-
in this show.
I'm glad you said
I
that,
think Raphael is awful.
because I'm gonna
And I'm a huge Raphael guy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pile on that.
He sounds like some kind of Goomba, like
I
tough
think
mafioso guy.
No one sounds like they're talking to each other. They sound like
Yeah.
actors in a studio reading lines.
This
Yeah,
might be why they're not
100%.
SAG,
100%.
to be completely honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think there's a lot going well for it. My
The
issues,
animation style.
the animation's great.
Mhm.
My issues with it is, one, I feel like they might be too serious too often. I've got to talk about the thing I hate the most, though. That theme song. Jimmy, play the theme song.
There it was.
There it was. Damn it, Jimmy. It was awful.
That's all I can say about
Yeah.
it.
There was no hairs raising on my arm after hearing that.
Jimmy, what do you think of the 03?
Mike nailed it. The voice acting. I don't think this show has much personality.
That's
That's a really good way to put it.
It's just the voice acting's not there. It feels like Raphael feels like that's the guy that's the cab driver that
I
drove
hate
them,
Raphael
that
so
drove
much.
them to the studio. And that started that. Hey, what are you doing here?
That's a
Actually,
really good
no.
point, actually.
Ooze did that too. Like he
Oh,
has
yeah.
that voice in Ooze
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I
he
actually
does.
you pointed out last time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it because it just doesn't appeal to me because of that. I appreciate that it goes back and does some of the layered Mirage stuff, but it just doesn't appeal. There's not a lot of personality in it for me.
Now you can take the hippest film of the year home for keeps. Awesome! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, is on video cassette at a great low price. Righteous! And it only gets better, because each video comes with coupons for over $20 worth of food and drinks from Pizza Hut.
I love being a turtle!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie.
Cowabunga!
Get them while they're hot. Available at Target for $18.88.
3, 2, 1. Hey there, sports dudes. In baseball tonight, Grand Slam and Rash Slam to hit. Unfortunately, the ball.
Okay, fast forward a couple years, Nickelodeon finally gets their hands on the Turtle property, and we are going to talk about the 2012 edition of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm going to go over the cast really quick.
They have their hands back on the property now.
Oh yeah, they have since then.
Yeah.
This was their first foray into
Correct.
it. So the cast, Leonardo. It starts with Jason Biggs, but for the most part, it's Seth Green. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Third guy in there too. For
Yeah.
four
Yeah,
episodes.
but who cares?
But he does. Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry,
No.
but like he does show up through like the last 4 episodes of season 2,
Mhm.
and there is actually some really good like deep Leonardo storytelling in that finale.
Okay.
So the
But
Philly
yeah,
guy did get to do a really good.
but I don't know
episode.
that guy. So
Yeah, no, nobody.
Yeah.
does.
Craig Sipes is Michelangelo. Sean Astin is Raphael,
Mhm.
which I love him on that.
Yep.
So good.
Rob Paulson, I know that name. He's Donatello.
Yep.
Mae Whitman is April O'Neil. Hoon Lee is Splinter. Kevin Michael Richardson, who's fantastic as Shredder.
Amazing.
Josh Peck as Casey Jones. Kelly Hu as Karai. Corey Feldman as Slash. What the hell?
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet, but I
Yeah.
It works.
okay. Nolan North is Kang. Of course, Nolan North is like video game royalty when it comes to voice acting.
Yep.
Phil Lamar is Baxter Stockman. We're going to talk about him in a minute. And finally, David Tennant as the Fugitive.
I mean, and you can keep going.
Yeah, you missed a
going
lot. You missed a lot.
I mean, it's
well, I only have so much room.
I was about to say, it would honestly be unfair to expect Brandon to mention everybody that's a
but
notable name.
these are the core people. You've got like stuff all over.
I know.
You have a mustache.
Yeah.
Your mustache.
I'll wipe it off in a minute. I'm still eating, so it's okay.
Do you have many facts on the 2012 one, Jimmy?
Well, I have sort of like a timeline
Okay.
of how this happened. In 2009, Laird sold the franchise rights to Viacom/Nickelodeon. Executive producer Ciro Neely, I think is the fellow's name.
Yeah.
He was a Teen Titans guy. He was a fan since the beginning, since '84. He had the first comic. And this show has, as I've said before, has a lot of nerd cred.
Yes.
I think certainly he does. The creative team on this, it really shows. Legendary casting director Andrea Romano, Tiny Toons Animaniacs, Batman the Animated Series.
It really is kind of like an all-star lineup of people to work on this show that I feel like, especially, like we said, with voice acting, is just second to none.
I mean, it just, you go through the IMDb page for that show and look at the voice cast. You almost had to feel like somebody was calling in favors, or like it was a fun show to work on, so other people wanted to be on it. Because I mean, everyone is on this show, even for just one episode.
And a lot of them are kind of in references, like Corey Feldman is a voice. Of course, he was Donatello.
He was Donatello, yeah.
Robbie Rist, who did Michelangelo in the 90s films, I think he's Mondo Gecko.
Yeah.
You
have April O'Neil is April O'Neil's mom from the original cartoon.
Yes. There's just a lot of fun.
That's a good episode.
A lot of fun connections
Renee Jacobs,
and nerdy things that they did. I thought that they were really fun.
Yeah, it really kind of combines, once again, kind of everything. The comics, the 1987 show, the 03 show. It just, they took stuff from like the Archie comics. They took stuff from like pretty much everything and kind of made this big smorgasbord. It really reminds me of the current IDW comic that I was gushing about in the last episode, where it's just kind of the best. It's kind of like a greatest hits, but even more so.
There was a DuckTales reboot around the same time that has the same kind of feel.
Oh, the one with Ben Schwartz. That's a good cartoon.
Amazing.
It's a really good cartoon.
You put someone, you give someone a property who loves the property.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Really weird.
And they do fun things with it. It's incredible.
Warner Brothers. You should take note.
Had Brandon Urie singing the theme on the new DuckTales too, and it was really
That's
good.
right. It was great.
Got from Panic at the Disco.
Great show. That was a good period of like, let's bring things back and make them good, and they work for everybody. That's the way it should be.
Speaking of people that were from kind of old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, Rob Paulson's back as a regular as Donatello. What does everybody think about that? Is it distracting, or do you like it?
I liked it.
I loved it.
I loved it.
I like him better as Donatello than Raphael.
And there's just a little difference in the two voices.
He has kind of like a...
He knows how to
change it. He has a sound with his voice where...
It's almost like he was aware he was playing a character with a gap in his teeth, so he adjusted his voice for it.
He wouldn't do it without Barry Gordon's approval too. Like he was offered the part, and he was like, "I can't do it unless Barry Gordon's okay with it." Yeah, Sean Astin might be my favorite Raphael.
Oh, hands down. And I think this is the best version of Raphael because they address everything, like every gripe that all the fanboys have ever made about Raph gets addressed in episodes on this show. Again, like Jimmy said, the show has a lot of nerd credit. Yeah, it's very aware of its fan base. It's very aware of its history. And also, one of the things that I love about the show is that they very much understand like a running gag or a running gimmick. And so each season, you have the Turtles watching a cartoon.
Television. Yeah, in the first season is like a Star Trek cartoon.
Which I believe is called Space Heroes.
Yeah.
And then in the second season, I forget what the name of it is, but it's Voltron. It's 100% Voltron. It is only Voltron. Third season, you get He-Man, but they call it's like Krognard the Barbarian, so the name is like Conan the Barbarian, but he straight does the I have the power in the episode and everything. The one where he goes into the giant cave monster's butthole.
That was weird.
Where there was straight butthole on Nickelodeon. Yep. Not even like insinuated maybe. No,
it's straight up beehole.
It's butthole. Yeah. And then in the fourth season, they actually find a tape where, I can't remember his name up, but the guy who ends up becoming Dog Pound, which ends up becoming Razor.
Yep.
Chris Bradford?
Chris Bradford, yeah. Chris Bradford, Rad Brad, like he calls him.
Clancy Brown?
Yeah. So he ends up, apparently in the 80s, that character had his own cartoon, and they find tapes of it. And that's
I heard they modeled him off of Chuck Norris too.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like in those first few episodes, he has like the whole Gene get up and everything.
Yeah.
It's definitely supposed to be Chuck Norris.
Yep.
I like the whole thing of like all these characters have weird names, and like this one, like Mikey names them.
What do you all think of Michelangelo in this cartoon? 'Cause I'm kind of mixed on him.
I
love him when he's being kind of like a savant or whatever, but sometimes he gets a little too, I feel like, annoying.
Yeah,
he is a little bit more. They did go heavy on the party dude aspect of him, but when you have Greg Sipes doing the voice, who's fantastic, like has all the energy you would want your Mikey to have. Also does a great job as Beast Boy in the Teen Titans cartoon.
Yeah, he does.
Both Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go.
Yep.
But no, I thought it was great. I like how whenever they go to Dimension X and everything's backwards, Mikey is a genius, and he's the one who actually helps them out of a lot of that stuff.
That's
and
fun.
he's like flying techno drones and stuff like that. But yeah, I actually really. But then again, I mean, you probably hear it in my voice as I'm talking. Like, it's not a bad thing about the 2012 one to me. I mean, the animation was a little, wrap my head around at first.
It took me 2 episodes to get into the animation, but I actually do love it now.
Yeah,
it took me a minute to get into the animation as well.
And even to go into the animation, like we had kind of talked about before we started recording, I really liked when they would do the little anime emotions in certain scenes, like when they would get really mad and their eyes would
when it's used sparingly, I like it. Sometimes I feel like they rely on it
or like
a little much.
With Donnie and April, every time Donnie's like love struck over her and his eyes go all white and there's like a little heart above his head.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, but there's sometimes they do it too much.
Yeah.
It's precious, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
for some reason, I'm okay with it. I actually think it's pretty cute.
I think it's cute as well, but like I said, sometimes
and I'm not an anime guy either.
Yeah, it has a Scott Pilgrim way about it.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Apparently, also in the final season, there's a big story with the 1980 Turtles cast where everybody comes back.
Well, I know they do. There's at least one episode where they
cross over. There's a bunch.
Yeah, I thought they do.
There's more than that because I looked it up on.
Well, I've watched the first one recently. That's why I was thinking that. But I will say that for the first time they do it, those 87 Turtles in the 2012 animation is nightmare fuel.
I was wondering what they look like. Is it still CGI or is it?
It's still CGI.
I thought they might just 2D it.
Because in the first episode, they do, they bounce back and forth, so you get to see the 2012 Turtles in 87 animation.
I like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Oh,
no, it's not.
I just that was me wanting to stop the podcast completely. No, it's great. It's great.
But like, you get to see more than just the Turtles in the 2012 animation too. Like the Krang bodysuit shows up in 2012 and all that. So you get a lot of fun out of it.
Yeah, the series ended up lasting 5 seasons. It made 124 episodes, which is a lot for 5 seasons, if you ask me.
Yeah.
What are our thoughts on the series as a whole? I'm going to go to you last. Let's start with Billy.
Well, the animation took me a minute to get into, like I said before. I don't know if it was my age that was pushing on why it was hard for me to get into. I like the different stories they went on.
Right.
Like you're saying, I like that. I like that it was dark.
Jimmy, what did you think of the 2012 series?
And mainly because of the voices. Sorry. The huge cast I really liked. But all the different voice characters they had and whatnot. Now I'll stop.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, what did you think of the 2012 series?
Again, I went into this lumping it in with the Platinum Dunes films at the time. I don't know why I did that. I was just like, what are they doing with this property? What are they doing? And then the animation was like, this is weird. I don't know about this. And then eventually watching it, I had to admit to myself that 87 wasn't as great as I remembered because this did things that I always wanted that to do. Yeah, it killed Splinter.
That was what was kind of depressing about this particular episode of the podcast, was just realizing 87 wasn't as great as we all thought it was.
And I hated to admit that this did the things that I always wanted after the 5. The first 5 had progression, those first 5 episodes.
Oh, they're so good.
And then it's just like, we got to sell toys and get stagnant. And this took the characters places. We haven't even talked about the stuff with Karai and all that. That by the end of season 1, I was hooked, and I was like, you did a thing. And
Karai is the daughter of Splinter.
And
that is new.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the show is basically about the battle for Karai's soul between Splinter and Shredder. Even I'm not talking about it. Like, again, that's good shit. Like, things are raising on my arms. Because that's what I want out of the property. When the property has, there's a deep backstory, and it builds on it. It's still fun. It has all the moments. They do, I don't know if we're talking about our favorite things, but I'm going to throw it in here. They do the Back to the Farmhouse storyline from the first Turtles.
Yep.
I might get...
Well, that's from the books. That's from
the book.
That's from issue 11.
But they switched Leo and Raph, and Raph is the one. They switch it, and like Leo's the one that's hurt instead of Raph at the end. In the
Leo's the
movie.
one that's hurt in the books.
Yeah, and it's like they did.
They switched it in the movie,
and it really hit me. It's like they really love this, and they watched that movie. I love that 1990 movie, and so did they.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff about the show that it did that. I love that they blew up the world. It's great. This to me is it beat 87. It's the height of the prop. 1990 is my favorite thing. That movie. But as far as on TV, this is the best Turtles has ever been.
I love it for the most part. I love the cast. I love the stories that I've seen so far. When they get into like the core story, I think it cannot be beat. My issue with the series is sometimes I feel like they meander a little bit.
Filler.
There's a lot of filler. There's a lot of episodes where I'm just like, why did I just watch a cockroach Terminator? I hate that episode. That, and I hate Parasitica. Parasitica sucked too, where they get like stung by a wasp and have to guard an egg or whatever. Yeah. I just feel like it's like, okay, we have to fit in 25 episodes per season.
Yeah,
I think that kind of hurt it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Because when they don't focus on kind of the main stories or the main villains, I get bored with the show a little bit because I feel like it starts really slow. I feel like it starts too slow because, in my opinion, it doesn't really start getting like super awesome till episode 9, which is, I'm going to talk about that episode a little bit later, called The Gauntlet.
But yeah, overall, I think 2012 series is hands down the best one. There's tons of references to the OG series. There's tons of references to horror movies in it. There's just tons of pop culture references, but I don't think it's done to the point where that's the whole gimmick of the show. I think that everything the show does, they balance really, really well. Mm-hmm. And that's, just top marks all around for everything from the voice acting. The animation does take a little bit to get used to, but I think it takes
like 2 episodes.
But it also, it has its own strong points. Like, I think that animation does environment really well.
Yeah.
It's some of the faces, I admit, are a little the human face. Yeah. Kirby O'Neill's face is a little weird in some frames, but overall, nothing but great things to say about that one.
Someone's in the sewer and they don't belong here. Awesome futuristic Cyber Samurai warriors. Oh no, it's Cyber Samurai Shredder and Cyber Samurai Bebop. What we need now are Cyber Samurai Turtles. Look out, fists are flying. Oh no, they hit Cyber Samurai Raph. It's our turn through a few punches. They're in the table. What an awesome breakthrough. Hey, after meeting the Cyber Samurai Turtles, these guys are just futuristic scrap metal. Teenage Mutant Ninja Cyber Samurai Turtles.
And we go from great things to not so great things. We have to cover Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which ran from 2018 to 2020. And man, I have
super ironic title, right?
Yeah,
it's the Rise, even though it's definitely the bottom dropping out of the franchise.
It's definitely the fall.
Rob Paulson, I believe, is the voice.
He's the voice director. I think that's the coolest thing about this particular version of Turtles.
I have it right here, actually.
The only good thing about
that might be the only good thing. It's the only thing I wrote down.
I'm going to go through some facts real fast before we tear into it. Yes, Rob Paulson is voice director of the series. One thing that I think is kind of cool about the series is each turtle is its individual species. Raphael is a snapping turtle. Leonardo is a red-eared slider turtle. Donatello is a soft-shell turtle. And Michelangelo is a box turtle. The look of the turtles and weapons are based on the 2014 movie, the Michael Bay movies. So that's why they have the weapons that they do.
You can kind of tell.
Raphael has ton of batons instead of size in this cartoon.
Yep.
Casey Jones is a girl in this, played by Zelda Williams.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah,
me either. For those that don't know, that is the daughter of the late great Robin Williams.
Interesting.
Raphael is the oldest, and he's the leader of this version of the Turtles, while Leo is the rebellious one. Which, what? Why are we changing the entire perception of the characters?
Well, we're going back to the Partners in Crime song that came out in 1990 that said Raphael. Yeah. He's the leader of the group, transformed from the norm by the nuclear goop. We were always pissed off at that because that was wrong.
They made it right now. They made it right.
It made no sense.
It's the whole reason that series exists.
They fixed it. They fixed it. Partners in Crime.
One thing that's cool about the show is Raphael, Michelangelo, and April are all voiced by actors of color. So we got some more diversity going on in this version of Turtles, which is really cool. The show ran for 2 seasons and 39 episodes. Thankfully, only 39. They actually ended with a movie on Netflix, which the animation on the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie on Netflix, it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
It just
the action looks
still
great.
the action's awesome, and the action in the show can be kind of fun too, because it's very, I guess, highly anime. What would you call it?
It's
very
definitely
stylized.
It's stylized. It's not. Quite, it's almost, you could call it like American anime.
All right, what do people think of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Because your boy has thoughts.
I think I probably have one of the only positive things to say about it, so I'll go first.
Go for it.
I think you probably are.
The only positive thing I can say, and this is after watching very few episodes, so who knows if I'd watch the other 36 episodes if I'd still feel this way. But I do think the humor was pretty solid. It wasn't cringy. It wasn't bad. It's a little pat at times.
It's very smarmy.
Like joke. But I do think it's very fitting for the audience that they were going after. It's what a lot of cartoons that go after that audience and that age demographic.
Yeah.
It's the kind of comedy they do.
I picked a random episode last night while I was checking out the Turtle cartoons, and the episode was about the Turtles needed to return a DVD to a kiosk by midnight, and if they returned it by midnight, they would get a hug from Splinter. That was the whole plot.
So this was one of the 11-minute ones, at least, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I couldn't. I wanted to do an 11-minute one because I didn't want to stomach a full
relatability. That's what they want.
And they end up getting it, but as they go through the town, they keep running into obstacles, and also a man who's dressed as Gandalf saying, "You shall not pass," who ends up hugging Splinter with him, which is weird. I don't know what this show is for. This show is not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's just, they have the same names, but you don't really have the villains of the Turtles in there at all.
Shell of the former series.
Oh my god!
You might say.
I approve that.
They're definitely half shelling it. But April O'Neil's like a superhero now too.
Yeah, that was.
And I don't love that.
Well, she's kind of a little bit like that in 2012.
And I don't love that. I don't love that either.
That's more with her mind.
I'd say in 2012, they also, it's baby steps. It starts off as her training to actually learn how to fight from Splinter.
I think I'm like Jimmy. I prefer April O'Neil being older.
She's like psionic or whatnot.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
There's no really Turtle characters outside of your core characters. Shredder doesn't show up till like the very end, and he's very different. He looks kind of like Skeletor.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's not.
Casey Jones only shows up briefly in the movie.
What does he sound like?
He sounds like Haley Joel Osment.
That's not the Casey I remember.
He sounds like
does he sound like he's talking through his teeth?
He sounds like he sees dead people.
That does not sound intimidating at all.
Yeah, they have him and they have the Krang. That they're just the Krang in the movie that's on Netflix. Okay. But
they did the thing.
Yeah,
they were like, "Look, we did the thing."
Yeah.
Well, you got to have something to back it up. You can't just do the thing. You know?
Other than that, there's like you don't see like Baxter Stockman or there's no other. There's no Leatherhead.
Yeah, there's no other like.
All these characters are pretty much.
There's no other.
I'm pointing to my shirt.
Like you're saying, there's no other mutant.
These characters aren't in there except for the Turtles and April and Splinter. And how horrible is Splinter?
Easily the worst iteration of Splinter.
Why did they do this? So, for those that don't know, Splinter is very lazy.
Just fat and lazy.
He watches his stories or whatever, and that's about it.
Yeah.
What do you think of Splinter in the cartoon, Jimmy?
Well, I don't know a whole lot about Splinter.
All you need is one episode.
I will say this: who voices him? Eric Bauza.
Yeah.
Eric Bauza does the best Bugs Bunny. He's probably the best Bugs Bunny since Mel Blanc. And most of the Looney Tunes characters now he does. Yeah. So he's a talented guy.
He is good.
I don't know a whole lot about that. You say that this is a bad version of Splinter?
It's horrible.
I'm sure it is. But I do want to say that Eric Bauza is a talented voice person. I don't know why this isn't good. It's probably the writing too.
It's definitely the writing.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't want to be bothered. He wants to watch his stories.
Well, because the kids watching this, like I'm sorry, Splinter's the dad.
Yeah.
So like they write him differently now. He's like, well, he's our dad.
He's like a silly dad that you
Yeah,
see in
he's
like
a silly
sitcom
dad.
or
That's
something.
dad's not cool. That's why.
See,
That's
and
why
I
we
was
do this
hoping
now.
from the little bit I watched that, like, because I've read up on it, what happens later, and none of it stuck to my memory because the only thing I was looking for wasn't there. So if I'm wrong, somebody, I think Brandon's the only one who's watching enough, could correct me.
I watched
Like,
a little bit, not much.
So, like, Lazy Splinter is kind of like a funny thing that we could run with for a little bit, but when it comes time to step up, which I would hope there's a moment where he steps up and shows that he wasn't being lazy, he was just resting.
I think they probably do that near the end.
I would hope but 2 seasons is a long fucking play for that when we're talking about Splinter.
It's not good.
It's almost, 40 episodes?
Yeah, what you
It's
said,
39.
like 30 something? Yeah.
If you count the movie, it's technically 40.
I love Splinter in 2012 because he's like 8 feet tall.
Well, when you think about it, he should be taller than the Turtles.
He
They're
should
teenagers.
be. But when you see it, when I saw it at first, I was like, oh my god.
It's
'Cause
almost
that's the
a
first
little-
time that he's like a little old Yoda man. But now
Right.
he's like, oh my god, Splinter's like towering over these turtles. But it works, and it's great.
And you can believe him fighting Shredder
Yes,
when he's that big.
very
Right.
capable. He
Yeah.
was very capable.
Instead of only being 4 foot.
And jumping around like Yoda.
Yeah.
What do you think of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Billy?
I haven't seen a whole lot of it. I know there wasn't very many episodes, only 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I did like was that Zelda Williams was in it.
Yeah.
Because I was always a big Robin Williams fan.
Yeah, I like Zelda being. I like some of the voice acting. In there, but
and I've heard the
writing's not my thing.
Some of her voice acting is actually really good. Eric Balza, of course,
Jimmy, what did you think of Rise of the
I
Turtles?
mean, this isn't really for me. Like I watched a episode of it, and like it's got some clever jokes and lines, and it's just not for me.
My thoughts is I think there's probably a good cartoon in there, but it's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They should call it something else.
Yeah,
they should call it like Reptilian Teenagers or something like that.
Battletoads. They should call it that.
Kung Fu Frog.
There's like nothing that has to do with, and I get it. Like there's a different lore each time around. That's why I'm okay with them changing lore up, but there's no lore, and they're just silly.
Like the voice acting, I actually think the voice cast is actually pretty good.
I think the voice acting, and I do think the action is good.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, me personally, I am 100% on board with an anime turtle series.
Oh yeah,
but I want it to have the tone of more animes where it's a little more serious. Like, if you could take an anime style and give it almost a story like the 2003 series, where it's a little more serious, I actually think that would be pretty amazing.
I think it would work out really well.
Yeah.
Now at Burger King, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle bike gear, radical spoke sliders, a cool bike pouch, the Ninja Zipper, a screaming bike horn, and a license plate.
Awesome accessories, dude.
You can collect all 5, one with every kid's meal, only at Burger King, where the turtles are biking your way.
Your way, my way at Burger King now.
We're gonna do. I'm gonna do a lightning round questions. We're gonna go around the table here, and our answers are gonna be OG, 03, 12, or 18. All right. Overall, which turtle anime series is your favorite? I'm going to start with Billy and work my way around.
OG.
OG. Okay, Jimmy.
It's 2012.
2012. Okay.
Turtles 2012.
I'm going to go with 2012, even though I haven't finished it yet, but I'm enjoying it a lot more than I've enjoyed all the others. Which one was your least favorite? Let's all just say it at the same time. 2018.
Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I thought we were going to do a little countdown.
The fall of the TMNT.
All right, which show do you think has the best turtles? Like, not just one of them, but all 4.
2012.
87, I grew up with the guys. I have to pick them.
2012, they each all get to stand alone in certain episodes, and they all have their own motivations.
I think 2012 as well, for just because I
And the
like
voice
all
acting.
4.
Yeah.
The voice acting, I just think is amazing. All right, who has the best Splinter? Billy.
87, OG.
2012.
Mike?
I loves me the OG, but I gotta go 2012 on this one too.
I'll go 2012 as well.
1990 movie would have been my answer, but
That's a good pick.
Because that's like the best puppet in the fucking world.
I love that puppet.
I do too.
Next episode. Who has your favorite April O'Neil? Billy.
03.
87.
OG
for me as well. Which show do you think has the best villains? Billy.
2012.
Jimmy?
I would say OG. The voices are easily imitatable and they're fun.
Mike?
2012, hands down.
I'm going to pick OG just because I've only done one season so far and it's mainly just been like Krang. Which show would you want to would you be most likely to binge all the way through? Billy. OG, 03, 12, or 18?
Probably 18 because I don't have as much time to watch 1980s 193 episodes.
Jimmy.
2012.
I've been binging all of them lately, and 2012 is the only one I'm still watching.
2012 is the one I'm sticking with, too. Which show has your favorite animation, like, overall? Billy.
OG.
Jimmy?
It's OG. It's that opening. It's 87.
I gotta go 03, actually.
That's a good choice. I almost went with 03, but I'm going to go with OG as well. Just kind of when they were like really firing on all cylinders. That's some like good classic stuff. Which show has your least favorite animation? Least favorite animation, not like the show itself, because I'll even admit 18 has some really good animation.
Right.
Billy?
Probably 03.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 03 as well.
Mike?
I'll be honest. I actually think all 4 series have really good animation. Like really.
I think all of them are fairly solid.
I would honestly, and this is a super slight technicality. I'm gonna say OG. Just because some of the stuff doesn't run as smooth as the other animated series do. Like, sometimes it almost feels like they're slowed down.
It's pretty janky at times.
Yeah. I'm going to pick 03. Like, it's good, but I feel like the others are just way more superior. Because, like I said, I hate 2018, but it looks good for what it is.
I think it has more personality
I'd
than
say it's
03
exciting
does.
looking.
Yeah, it's more visually something. I don't know. It's something, all right.
It's something.
Yeah.
Billy, is your favorite episode in OG, 03, 12, or 18 of Turtles of all time?
Can we say what that episode is?
Yeah, I was hoping.
You can?
Can I say what the episode is?
Yeah, and then we'll talk about our favorites in
Can I
general.
give a rundown on why I think it's my favorite? OG would be one of my favorite episodes. It was the pizza episode, but that's mainly because when I was younger, I always liked aliens.
What's it called?
Oh, that's
the Killer Pizza one?
Attack of the Killer Pizzas, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like second season.
Yeah. The Case of the Killer.
Case of the Killer Pizzas.
There we go.
That's the first episode I liked when I watched it.
Case of the Killer Pizzas is one of my favorite ones.
That's a good one.
It had I was a big fan of Aliens when the movie came out, and that was kind of like a third showing of Aliens.
Yeah.
But as far as 87 goes, I tend to like the episodes where they introduce characters. Enter the Fly is great.
Yeah.
Where we bring in Baxter and Krang's just like dispose of him, and like they're just going to kill him.
Oh yeah.
And
Every Enter episode.
And then the Fly gets in. It's great because it's basically just a get a Jeff Goldblum reference. I love Cowabunga Shredhead, where Michelangelo and Shredder switch places.
Oh, I watched that one.
Oh God, I just remember. Oh wow,
that's a fun one. The animation's real swimmy in that one, but I really like it. Enter the Rat King again. I just like
Enter the Rat King.
I love introducing characters.
One of the ones I was going to mention actually.
Of course, we talked about earlier, maybe before we rolled, about Casey Jones just walking into a job interview for that's Corporate Raiders from Dimension X.
While he still has his mask on.
While he still has his mask on.
You got to break that up.
Yeah.
And every weapon on his back.
Yes. There's an episode called Shredderville, which is basically It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
Where the turtles are like, we don't want to be turtles, and then it's like a whole thing. And like April and Irma are like slaves to Bebop and Rocksteady.
What?
Yeah, it's interesting. And this is an episode it's not a great episode, but it's called Night of the Rogues. And they didn't do this at all. The only time they ever do it where Shredder's like, I'm going to bring in all the villains.
Oh, really? They did like a Sinister Six?
Shredder brings in Chrome Dome, Rat King, Leatherhead, Scumbug, Slash, Anthrax.
When was this?
And Tempestra. This is like season, I think, 7.
But that's got to be later.
Or maybe 8. It might have been one of those. It's one of the last really good episodes. And then the Turtles are like, oh yeah? Well, we got Zack, the 5th Turtle.
Yeah.
That's that little boy that
I hate that kid.
Yeah. Right. And they also Casey
Better
Jones.
than Carter though.
Better than Carter. And that's the 3rd episode Casey Jones is in. I don't think he has a speaking line. But they bring in those two. They could have brought in Mondo Gecko.
Why do you think they didn't bring in Casey Jones hardly ever?
I don't know.
He's
maybe
such a big part of the comic.
Maybe
and the movies.
Maybe because he was too violent for the
It just didn't interest them. Maybe I guess I don't.
Yeah, it could have just.
But it's a great visual though for cartoons.
Yeah, I agree.
But
like I said, maybe he was.
He literally went to the job interview with one on.
They sold the figure, and then that was all they needed.
That was all they needed.
Yeah, that was all they needed. So those are
I had that figure.
Those are my favorites from '87.
What are some of your favorite episodes, Mike?
So 2012 season 1 finale. It's just
Showdown.
It's just.
I have it on my list here.
Yeah, so. It's such a good episode, and it also is just it's a good crescendo to the 10 episodes that preceded it. Everything builds up really well to that moment. It's a 2-part episode. There's a lot of good emotional stuff in it. That's when you find out the big twist that Karai is not Shredder's daughter, as we've been led to believe the whole time she's existed.
That
in the
is
series.
not from the comics. That's like an original thing from that. Which
it turns out
I like that
when the big fire and everything happened back in the day, with the whole origin story of all that Shredder actually stole Miwa, as her actual name is, from Splinter.
Yeah.
And then so that in a finale that sets up an obvious story for where we're going to go next is just so underappreciated.
Yeah,
and that whole
so well
second
done
season,
too.
Right? And that whole second season is about Splinter trying to bring Karai back into his life, and then all the stuff with Mugen and whatnot. But yeah,
my favorite episodes. I picked a couple from almost every series. Obviously, I didn't pick anything from 2018.
It sounds like you like that DVD episode.
I think he loves that DVD episode.
Of the OG series, you got to go with the first 5 episodes. The first season is, in my opinion, pretty near perfect. If they would have kept the cartoon with that kind of vibe, that kind of like storytelling, I think it could have been one of the best cartoons of all time. But of course, it became a cartoon about selling figures, and I get that.
The best Bebop and Rocksteady are in those episodes.
Oh, they're scary. They're scary in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original 5 episodes of OG, you should check out. The first one with Rat King too is another one of my favorites. When you go to 2003, I gotta say episode 10 and 11, which is called The Shredder Strikes, part 1 and 2. That's the first time they get to fight Shredder. You don't know he's a Neutron yet. And as for 2012, I've only seen 1 season of it, but I can suggest episode 9, The Gauntlet. I was talking about earlier. That's the first showdown with Shredder as well. It's really good because that's when, in my opinion, the show starts to get a little serious.
Yeah.
It had been a little silly and also a little slow. In the first 8 episodes, they're not bad, but I don't think they're great. Episode 9 is when they become great, in my opinion.
And they retreat.
Yeah, they don't stay. It's really, really good. And also, like Mike said earlier, I have to pick the finale, part 1 and part 2 of Showdown, which is episode 25 and 26 of the 2012 edition of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about the cartoons before we get going today?
So I have a note.
Oh, go for it.
One thing I liked about 87, we were talking about Casey Jones's voice. I think what they did, they came up with a character and they were like, hey, what can you all do? And they went to the voice cast and were like, what can you all do? And for Casey Jones, they were like, somebody was like, I can do Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so he's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
When they did, I think their version of Ray Fillet or whatever.
Yeah.
Someone was like, who? Ray Fillet. And they're like, let's say, Ray Liotta. So the voice for Ray Fillet is Ray Liotta. There's a lot of voices like that. There's an Elvis voice, but one I do need to point out.
Henry Hill is Ray Fillet.
There's an episode called like Mr. Og Goes to Town, where Donatello opens up a portal to this weird world where Mr. Og is basically like a Mr. Mixoplex kind of character.
Oh yeah, Superman's fifth dimension imp.
Very
villain.
annoying. And eventually they put him back in he leaves, whatever. But I guess they were like, hey guys, what voices can you do? And Rob Paulson was like, I can do Pee-wee. So Mr. Ogg's voice is Paul Rubens. It's actually Rob Paulson doing Paul Rubens. So I wanted to point that out because I was looking at this, I was like, oh, that's another Pee-wee reference. In Turtles, it's Rob Paulson doing the voice of Mr. Og.
Why do the Turtles keep referencing Humphrey Bogart in the old cartoon?
It must be the...
It happens multiple times.
Yeah. Well, the hats. They put the hats and trench coat on them. So it's like...
But I get him doing it like in the first episode like Raphael does, but why do they keep doing it?
Because the 40-year-old writers who are writing it, that's what they remember.
They're writing for children. Children don't know Casablanca?
There's tons of that stuff.
I know Casablanca?
87 did tons of that stuff.
I've still never seen Casablanca.
To be fair, I did learn about
Casablanca. Did he reference James Cagney in one of them?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, not Cagney. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Mikey does that in
the movie.
In the 1990 one. There's all kinds of references to like it.
Well, thank you for joining us again for our second episode of Turtlecast. Make sure you like and subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already. Drop us 5 stars while you're at it. If you like what we do here on Turtlecast, maybe check out mine and Jimmy's sister podcast, Almost Got 'Em, a podcast about Batman the Animated Series. We're on hiatus from Almost Got 'Em at this time, up until the fall, but we have 37 episodes waiting for you on Apple Podcasts and
37?
Spotify. Yeah, 37. That's where the 37 was.
Right.
I knew it was somewhere.
Nowhere near as fun as I thought it was going to be.
No.
Next time on episode 3 of our Turtlecast, we will take a look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies that have hit the silver screen over the years since 1990. We're going to cover all the Turtle movies in their entirety. We're going to talk about our thoughts on them. We're going to talk about how they got made and all that good stuff. Jimmy, what are you looking forward to talking about with the movies?
I'm always looking forward to talking about the 1990 movie because there's just little moments that I just love, and they're little things that probably no one else cares about but me. When I talk about the new movie, I have a lot of thoughts. I know it's the thing everyone's talking about now. So yeah, looking forward to delving into the films, and especially the third one as well.
We were gonna.
Yeah, I know Billy has thoughts. He's fuming. He's turning red.
Yeah, I have thoughts on the third one. I really want to talk about 1991. I absolutely love that one. I mean, to this day, I still quote that movie.
Which one are you looking forward to talking about the most, Mike?
Well, I am excited to talk about Mutant Mayhem just because I've seen a lot of the. I'm not going to spoil anything yet, but everyone's going to have the same gripe. And
that's not my main gripe. That's not my main gripe.
Right, well, I am just excited to defend the movie because I'm already seeing, for as much as people seem to like it, there are those...
Really? I haven't seen anybody that hates it yet.
There's a few turtle groups on Facebook that I've been in. And I
don't jump into that.
Yeah, there's always, with every fan base, there's always going to be people that are... They're mad that it's not the exact same thing that they watched when they were children, even though they can just go back and watch the thing from when they were children.
But for the record, I like the movie, but I just have thoughts.
Right, and then also, just like everybody else, I think we're going to have a big this is going to sound gross, 4-way love fest over that first live-action movie from 1990.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're going to have a lot of facts.
I am also interested, because I haven't gone back and watched any of these movies in a long time, with the exception of the 1991. I watched that one like last year. But I am interested in seeing if I still love the second one as much as I used to. Everyone's
Spoiler! You won't.
But we'll see.
I mean, if you're ready to go Ninja Go, you might.
I got no problem with that.
Oh, Ninja Rap I'm okay with Ninja Rap.
Right? Kevin Nash is in that movie. You all bite your tongues.
He is.
We're gonna talk about Kevin Nash next time too, right, Jimmy?
Right, did I hold the door open for him once?
No, that was you. You held the door open for Chewbacca. No,
what did I do?
You pissed off Kevin Nash.
Did I? I don't remember that specifically.
Well, we'll talk about it next time. We'll save it for next time. We gotta give people a reason to check out episode 3.
Close this elevator before Super Shredder gets on it. Is that what I did?
Well, once again, thanks for joining us. I'm Brandon Ingram.
I'm Mike Waters.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Humphrey.
And I'm Billy Duckett.
Cowabunga!
Bringing kids our Power Pack new series.
But Shredder wants it.
We must take that power. Yeah, let me have it.
Let's give it to him.
Oh, no, but into that.
Down, dude. It's Crunchy Ninja Net with Ninja Marshmallow.
A Power Pack Crunch, part of your balanced breakfast.
Hey, great!
Now we crunch you.
Turtle power!